Here's Trump doing his hardest not to sound sexist and racist.
Attribute her rising in the polls as becoming a more competitive race since she's taken over.
Well, she's a woman. She represents certain groups of people.
She represents certain groups of people. He really doesn't know how to go after Kamala without being racist.
To me, it doesn't matter. But to her, from her standpoint, I think it's very disrespectful to both, really. Whether it's Indian or black, I think it's very disrespectful to both. To me, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't matter. Black, Indian, as long as you're brownish or any other color than white, then I don't like you. That's what he's kind of saying. Even Fox News knows he's losing.
Remember, before the first debate with Biden and Trump, Trump was leading by close to 3 points or above 3 points, depending on when you looked at it. Trump today in the Real Clear Politics average is leading by 1.2%, 1.2 points. There's an outlier in there, the poll that gives him a 5-point lead. Without that outlier, he's leading by less than 1%, 0.8. I fully expect that the momentum she has is going to carry her through, unless it's a disastrous vice presidential choice. This momentum is going to leave her in the lead at the end of the Democratic convention.
Keep in mind, that was before they announced Tim Walz as the VP candidate, and now there's been even more of a surge of energy in the Kamala Harris campaign, which means Trump is getting ready to do the one thing he knows how to do to try and win this election.
That means they don't want your cows. Get rid of your cows. Would anybody like to keep red meat? Raise your hand. You know, think of it. Borders and electric mandate and all the things. Red meat. Oh, how the hell do you get elected, right? You know how they got elected? By cheating. They get elected by cheating.
So there you have it. He's getting his base ready to go, saying that they are going to cheat. And whatever Trump says they're going to do is what he's going to do. That's just how he does it. So when he accuses somebody of causing problems with inflation or somebody not being trustworthy, or when he says, with Hillary, I never said lock her up. He said lock her up. So whatever he says he didn't do, he did. And when he tells his base that the Democrats are getting ready to cheat, that means he's getting ready to cheat. And it's beyond getting ready to cheat. They actually have already started setting up their base for something that's going to be bigger than January 6th. Because if you listen to any of the interviews that Trump and his surrogates do, when asked will they accept the election results, they say we'll wait and see. Which means they're not going to accept the election results. And besides whatever the election results are, let's say Kamala just whoops his butt just completely, let's say just wins by a big margin. Probably won't be. It'll probably be a lot closer. But let's just say she were to beat him by that much. Then he would come back and complain and say, well, they cheated by installing Kamala when they took Biden out. So they've already got all their cheating lines ready to go. And let's not forget, before Biden dropped out, they were saying Biden should drop out. He's so old. So then he drops out, and then they go, he shouldn't have dropped out. This is cheating. So they're constantly getting their base ready for the cheating line, which, let's not forget, 4 years later, a lot of people in the MAGA base still believe that Trump won the election, which any sane person knows is not what happened. If Trump had accepted the election loss and now come back, maybe he'd have a little more credibility to what he's saying and doing. But because he's continued to be an election denier, and people like Kari Lake and others on his team continue to be election deniers, we know that they're getting ready to try to deny their loss if they lose, and find ways, maybe through this Supreme Court that they have put in there, who's come out about it. It was only a month ago when they said that Trump is immune from prosecution, a presidential immunity, complete immunity for the most part. So maybe that Supreme Court will help him regain the victory of the election, even if he loses it. We don't know. This is just very close, a few months away, and we are seeing this stuff in real time. So let's just analyze what's going on right now. Harris is a very strong candidate. They don't know how to deal with her. She's a female. She's a female with black background as well as Indian background, South Asian background. But she's American. So they first started by going after her by saying she was the DEI hire. She's only there because of her diversity. and had nothing to do with her experience being a U.S. senator of the biggest state in the country, of her being the vice president for 4 years under Joe Biden and all the stuff that they've done together, of her being the attorney general of California, of her being a DA. None of that stuff for them originally was qualifying as experience. That doesn't qualify as experience. She was picked because of her DEI hire, which failed badly. That line failed really quickly. Then he started doing the whole thing of, oh, she just turned black. She just turned black? What are you talking about? She went to a historical black college. Her father was black, always talked about her black background. She didn't just turn black. You don't just turn black. That line didn't seem to work. So now he's trying to find his way in to maybe go after her, but he can't help himself. He's a racist at heart. Even just watch his rallies. He'll find one black person and go, there's my African American. I've done more for the African American community than anybody. Really, you have? Really? Is that true? It's not true. Do you care about the African American community? No. You're the guy whose father, together, you and your father, were denying people living in your homes, in your housing, when you were a real estate developer in New York. You're the guy who took out the ad in the New York Times for what was then called the Central Park Five, which were 5 youths of black and Latino heritage who were accused of a horrible crime in New York, and years later they were exonerated, and Trump never apologized. You're that same guy. He took an ad out in the New York Times to bring back capital punishment. He wanted to execute them, which, by the way, if they've been executed and then we find out many years later that they're not guilty, then what? Would he have apologized? No. He is racist. He did the Muslim ban. He's a racist guy. He can't help himself. It's in his DNA. And so when you see him saying that Kamala Harris is doing well because she's a woman and she represents certain people, he's basically saying that, oh, well, black people and women are going to support her just because she's black and a woman. Let me tell you why else they're going to support her. They're going to support her because she actually has ideas to move America forward. She's not going backwards. She's not fear-mongering. She's not making stuff up. She's not saying that there's an issue at the border and then telling her constituents or telling her people in Congress not to vote for a bill that would have helped deal with some of the problems at the border, which is what Trump did. He tanked the border bill because he wanted to run on it. She's not doing it for herself. She's doing something that's going to help America. She was part of the team, the Biden team, that helped pass the infrastructure bill, which is helping everyday Americans. She's not going to give billionaires tax breaks. Trump actually picked J.D. Vance because the Silicon Valley billionaires wanted that, because that's just going to bring more money into his pockets. Ultimately, this guy has been a transactional human being his whole life, and he continues to be, and he doesn't care if he has to step on women and people of color and immigrants and anybody else to get what he wants. He is a bad human being, and he's having a hard time right now figuring out how to go after somebody who is a strong candidate, a strong female candidate who is also a person of color. He's really having a hard time. And it's a matter of time before he just lets it all go. I think that we're going to see more and more instances in his upcoming rallies where he just goes full-on racist and full-on sexist and feels that, hey, this is what my base wants, so I'm going to lean into it. And most likely that's going to help him lose the election, because he's going to lose anybody in the middle who for a minute thought about voting for him for whatever reason. Anybody with any sense of integrity is not going to vote for this horrible human being. And let's not forget, he comes with Project 2025, which is set out to get rid of a lot of our rights. And don't believe the fact that he's denying Project 2025, because he's in cahoots with those folks. We all know that. He's always bent over backwards to help anybody who is gonna, back him. And those people from Project 2025 are hardcore conservatives who want to go further at getting rid of your rights. They got rid of a woman's right to choose, even though a majority of Americans feel that a woman should have the right to choose. They got rid of Roe versus Wade because of this movement that took 50 years, these conservative religious folks, to get rid of a woman's right to vote. And so they're going to go after many more rights that you and I both have, and they're going to do it because of their hardcore religious beliefs. And Donald Trump is the perfect idiot for them to use to get what they want. So the choice is very clear. Do you vote for a progressive future that will hopefully lead to more prosperity for people in the middle, maybe grow the middle a little bit rather than having these handful of billionaires that just own most of the wealth in America? Or do you vote for a guy who's going to bend over backwards to take away your rights, to give more breaks to billionaires, make billionaires even more rich? Maybe we'll have our first trillionaire under Trump. And also a guy who plans on taking control and keeping control and basically taking us back to a dictatorship. So the choices are clear. Your choice, you make those choices, and just watch what he says. He's going to get more racist and more sexist as we go. Buckle up, folks. It's going to get interesting. My name is Maz Jobrani. I'm a comedian. I've got a special on YouTube. It's called The Birds and the Bees. Check it out. It's free. You got nothing to lose. If you like it, tell your friends. If you don't like it, keep it to yourselves. Bye.